Hey guys, welcome back to another flashlight review. Today we're going to be looking at the RovyVon S21, and this is marketed as an EDC searchlight. You know, I always get excited when I come across a light that is a bit different from those standard designs you see out there. And, you know, the S21 really fits the bill here. Just look at the finish on this light. It's absolutely incredible. Looks and feels like marble, some type of stone, and apparently is more durable, this finish, than the standard anodizing out there. But I'll talk a bit more on that later. As many of you know, I'm a big tactical light guy, but with the ease of use and this beautiful design of the S21, I think it's converted me, for now anyway. So this is basically what you get in the box, and it comes with one of these RX10 EDC organizers, and I like that RovyVon have included something like this. A lot of manufacturers either just chuck the light straight into a cardboard box, or they give you one of those nylon holsters, but something like this really is a nice touch, and especially if you're taking the light on for extended trips and stuff like that. You know, you've got that padding of the foam here on the top and bottom, you know, nice little container to make sure that you're not going to get that any damage to the light. And it looks like there's some type of sealing here. I'm not sure if it's sort of waterproof sealing, but it does feel like rubber, and when you close it, I reckon it's going to be watertight enough to stop, you know, splashes at least from getting into the compartment. You also get this here, just a USB-C charging cable. I've got so many of these things, I'm not going to use that. I've got another little pouch here. It comes with a lanyard and also a spare O-ring. Oh, and you also get one of these spare port covers as well, USB-C charging port cover. RovyVon include a high-quality cell in their light. Get the Samsung 50E. It's a 5,000 milliamp hour cell. So the S21 is an SFT70 light. So I thought I'd compare it, show you a little comparison between all of my other, well, a few other of my SFT70 lights here. And I've got a couple of Phoenix ones here, PD36R, TK20R. I've got a Nightcore P23i, Warrior X3 from Olight, and the Warrior 3S. And you can see that RovyVon S21 with that beautiful finish just stands out amongst all the others. And sometimes when you have all these standard black finishes, you just want something a little bit different. And the quality is absolutely impeccable. If you compare the finish, I would say that it really stands out above all the rest. Keep in mind as well that the S21 does come in black, and RovyVon also have a tactical version of this light. Basically, it's called the GL1. So I'd say the specs are very similar, except that you have some alterations to this switch here, and you get a tactical switch on the back. All right, guys, here's a little close-up of the RovyVon S21, and you can just see that beautiful finish that I was mentioning before. Second to none, really. I mean, I own so many flashlights, but this one is absolutely flawless. That machining and finish. And I own a few RovyVon keychain lights, and the amazing thing I noticed, even with those, they have excellent build quality. Just the attention to detail. The finish is not anodizing. It's a process called micro arc oxidation, and reminds me a little bit of ceramic or marble. It's grippy, durable, and it's got this kind of unique texture. How can I describe it? So it makes it look a bit grayish as well. I haven't seen this before, this sort of textured look on any other light. And I really like how the coating is applied evenly. And I do have a few other micro arc oxidation flashlights, compared them, and it's hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure that the finish is a little bit thicker on this one than on my others. I have dropped it a couple of times just on my table, and I hit a couple of other lights with it, and I don't see any damage to it. Did find with some of my other micro arc oxidation lights from Convoy, they dinged up pretty easily. One thing I admire about RovyVon is their impeccable attention to detail. All of these cutouts are milled perfectly. Good taste as well. There's just no rough spots anywhere. There's a strong magnet here in the tail. Usually with these heavier lights, the magnet's not able to hold the light up on horizontal, but it is able to do it here with this particular magnet very easily, even on the thin bits of metal. That's really going to help out if you need that hands-free usage, and especially with a general purpose light like this. If it doesn't have a tactical switch on the end, I'd really expect it to have a magnet there. It does accept 21700 cells, so you can use any other 21700 cell in there. There's onboard charging, and I like this little spot here. I mean, it's really tiny little USB-C port, and you really have to sort of peel off the edge, but minimalist. You know, there's not this gigantic port cover. It fits in nice and snug, sits flush there. It really doesn't look like there's going to be any issues with it coming off. When you pull off the port cover as well, you'll see that it reveals a secondary LED. So you can barely see just this little LED here underneath my index finger. And that is the sort of charging light that turns on. So there's a separate LED there than these ones here on the front, which indicate the battery capacity. The switch design is quite unique and very ergonomic as well. You know, you can see here, just having my thumb here, it's very easy just to flick that switch to the left and to the right, and, you know, have access to this other switch as well. So essentially you got this, you know, main modes here, and then this little button here on the side just toggles between the brightness levels. But I find it just so easy to flick that switch left and right. The middle bit there just stays locked. It's very smooth action, but there's some strong friction points. Okay, so don't feel like it's going to accidentally activate or something like that in my pocket. This is what the light looks like under the bezel. And you can see here you've got the SFT70 emitter. Nice smooth reflector, no dust, not a speck of dust under there. And you also get a stainless steel bezel here. I like how they've smoothed off the edges as well. You do have a little bit of these ridges that come up, but it's not enough to cause any attention. You can break a window with that pretty easily, but if you need to get it through security checkpoints, anything like that, you're not going to have any issues. With tactical lights, you know, you always find that they have these strike bezels here, and that's always an issue if you want to take it onto a plane or anywhere that has these security checkpoints that might flag you. Okay, so I touched on this a little bit earlier, but I just want to go through the UI just to show you how to use it. So very, very simple, and I love a simple UI on flashlights these days. It stays here, this little rotating switch. You can see there's a little button, not a button, little marker here, that little vertical marker. So basically that's lined up to the center, so it's in the lock position. If you press the center button, basically nothing happens. You just get the LED indicators that turn on. So 4 bars of battery life, very intuitive ability to read the battery as well. So there's no kind of red, green flashy lights, blue flashy lights or anything like that where you have to memorize what means what. So you move it over to the right there, you can see, and it goes over to the main beam. Here you can just sort of click that main switch. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 modes. Okay, and from any other mode, from any mode in here, if you press and hold, you get turbo. Okay, super bright, you get 10-second bursts of turbo. If you put it over to the left-hand side here, you get to this sort of strobe mode. Press the button once and you get an SOS mode as well through here. All right, so here's a couple of ceiling bounce tests that I ran, and on the turbo mode, and basically with the turbo mode, you can only activate it by pressing and holding that metal switch. So press and hold, and you can see here you get these 10-second bursts of turbo, goes up, comes down pretty quickly, and I just basically kept trying to activate the turbo. So it's good to see that you can reactivate it on these 10-second bursts. Even if it steps down after 10 seconds, you can reactivate it straight away. Ran a second ceiling bounce test on the S21, just on the high mode, and you can see here that it retains that 100% mark all the way to about 2.5 minutes. So basically between 95 to 100% output for 2.5 minutes. Very impressive. Before it starts stepping down by the 5-minute mark, you're left with 50% output. I think that's pretty good for a high mode Here is a third ceiling bounce test I ran on the medium mode, and you can see it's basically just held the 100% mark all the way past 25 minutes. So I ran some tests also with my Opal Lightmaster Pro, and something really impressive I noticed was RovyVon didn't include the specs for turbo. You can see on turbo, it actually reaches 515 meters. So it looks like they must have just included the 400 meter spec on the based on the high or the fourth step mode there. Remember, these are figures based on switch on as well. CRI ranged between 61 and 73, so pretty standard for the SFT70. CCT ranged from 5,300 to 6,400, so definitely more the cooler end. The S21 is an impressive thrower, and it produces a pretty large hotspot, so you can use it as a walking light quite easily, especially on the lower modes. You wouldn't want to have it on the high modes up close. It's just the candela is too high, but you do get tons of spill because of that SFT70. So some considerations you might want to be aware of. There's no shortcut to moonlight mode. There's no moonlight mode in there at all. There's basically just an eco mode. So there's a memory mode. So basically, if you put it onto the eco mode and then turn it back to lock, it will remember that eco mode. It's still fairly bright, but you're going to be okay if you're using this in the dark. But yeah, if you've got it in, say, medium mode or something like that, and you put it back, yeah, you flick it over to the right, it's always going to remember that eco mode, that medium mode, sorry. So you have to just flick it all the way back to eco, lock it, and then go back in there. So yeah, disadvantage there. If you want that to be on really sort of high mode, like fourth mode or something like that, yeah, you're going to get that high mode, but you're not going to have that ability to go sort of shortcut over to low mode. It would be good if you kind of held that button down and then move it over to go into some eco mode or moonlight mode in there. The light is pocketable, but you definitely know that it's there. It's still quite amazing that the light can throw half a kilometer, produces 3,000 lumens, and it's still going to be able to fit in your pocket. It does have a smaller bezel diameter than some of my other SFT70 flashlights. Third consideration is that in order to get into turbo, it's essentially 2 steps. You need to flick it over that side and then press the button, press and hold the button. But I'm just so used to tactical lights. That's why I'm kind of a bit picky with that. Good news is RovyVon also have another model, like I mentioned before. It's the GL1, which is the tactical version of this light. It has 1 step. It has 1 step turbo access through the tail switch. Overall, out of all of my side switch flashlights, this has got to be my favorite one. It's nearly perfect in my mind. Great overall performance, sustained output. Pretty much get the best of both worlds, flood and throw. And this clean and unique look, it's very eye-catching. Might be a good or bad thing, but remember, you've got that black option. You can get this in as well if you don't like the marble finish. So if you're looking for the perfect long-range floody flashlight and you're less concerned about the tactical features, more want a general purpose side switch light, wouldn't hesitate to recommend the S21. If you have any questions, just let me know down in the comments below. I'll get back to you. And if you like this video, you found it helpful, do me a favor, click the like button and share it with your friends. Just helps me to get the video out more. Doesn't cost you a cent. And if you want to keep up to date with the latest flashlight reviews and news, then make sure you subscribe. RovyVon S21, and that's the low mode. And really strong hotspot in the center, even on that low mode, and there's a decent amount of spill. It's hard to capture here on camera. Let's bump it up a notch. Second step. And you can see all the way to the center of this golf course quite easily. Third step. Okay, now we're talking. And this is hitting the back of those trees quite easily. Fourth step, look at that. 400 meters of throw. Such a clean looking beam as well. And I can press and hold it for turbo, look at that. You get that little boost of turbo. 500 meters, I measured. I mean, look at that, that's pretty impressive. The light that fits in your pocket. Such a large hotspot as well. The SFT70, it's really the best of both worlds. You get just this gigantic hotspot with tons of spill. And if you even, say if you have it down on one of the lower modes, like this is the lower mode, and you can press and hold to access turbo from the low mode. Okay. That's low. And here we go, turbo. Go for a little walk, and I'll step it up to say the 4th mode. You can see what it looks like, and I'll use turbo while walking as well. RovyVon S21. 2nd step, 3rd step, and the 4th step, and turbo. Well, RovyVon S21, 1st step, 2nd, 3rd, 4th step, and turbo. I can see some little eyes of some animal right at the back. Might be able to see it on camera, just a little reflection of the eyes right in the center there in the clearing. Spiderweb here as well, floating just in the air. Can't quite see right down the very end, but yeah, gets close. You can see at least the light reflecting off the tree trunks.